Zola and Sean Bell take you on a hot lap around the NHL with Hello Hockey, Saturday mornings at 10, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. The Elks Call is the newest Edmonton Elks podcast located in Edmonton, discussing everything Elks. Join friends of EST, Scout and Catherine, Friday nights at 8 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join friend of EST, Guy Flaming, for The Pipeline Show, Monday nights at 8 and Saturday at noon, as he has you covered with CHL, CJHL, USHL, NAHL, NCAA, and U Sports, plus the World Juniors, Frozen Four, and NHL Draft on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielson and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Catch up with friends of EST, Andrew, Mike, and Kayla, as they get you in the huddle with the Edmonton Elks on the Turf District. Thursday nights at 8, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Friend of EST, Eric Thomas, takes you around the track all the way to the checkered flag on Raceline Radio, Tuesday nights at 8 and Saturday morning at 9, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join Murray McCourt and Curtis Stock for tips and tales from courses around Edmonton and area with the VIP Golf Show, presented by the Tailor Made Performance Center at the Ranch, Sundays at 8:30, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get all the latest news and takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielson and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
All right, it's 12:04 on a Thursday, and it's time for Two Guys and a Goalie. Nielson, Gager, and Cass with you here today. And if you want to bet on the National Hockey League, Cool Bet is your place to do it. And we'll continue to get into a lot of those preseason team futures props as we work our way through the next couple of weeks here on Two Guys and a Goalie. Nielson and Gager in studios at Edmonton Sports Talk. Cass, are you going golfing this afternoon? What's going on here? Can't hear Cass. Cass, are you muted? Maddie, is he connected? Still can't hear him.
Still can't hear him.
Computer slider up. We're going to try to get to Cass. Cass is definitely going golfing. As soon as I saw him set up, I was just like, oh, look at this guy. And I still can't hear you, Cass. Maddie will get that sorted out. Like the nice tight white shirt and then the backwards hat. He's ready to hit the links.
Yeah, I'm a little upset with Murray told me the only way to fix my swing was to come in and get custom fitted for a set of TaylorMade. So that sucks.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you, buddy.
There we go. I don't know what was going on there. That was weird.
I'm assuming your mic wasn't plugged in.
No, it was plugged in. I don't know what was going on with it, but it was plugged in. Now I'm way too loud in my own headset, but that's all right. Yes, yeah, I'm going golfing with my old agent. He wanted to get out. I haven't got out with him in probably a couple of years. So it's one of those invitations where you don't turn it down. So I might be sneaking out of here a couple minutes early.
Yeah, let us know what time you got to go. What time do you got to jet? When do you got to leave?
I probably got a jet if I get out of here about 22, which is earlier than I'd like, and that's basically going to be me like driving up, grabbing my bag, walking up to the tee and teeing off, which is perfect.
Playing?
Who needs warm-ups?
Where are you playing?
Northern Bear today.
Oh my
wow.
gosh.
Jeez.
Oh,
Sorry, Cass. You can just go then. The Northern Bear, eh?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Wow.
God, nice agent.
Who's your agent?
Yeah, I was going to say. How do we get one?
That was Jerry Johansson.
I thought you were going to say Jerry
he's
Maguire
not my agent anymore. He was my agent when I played. So
well, he would be your agent if he would have kept you
long
working.
time ago now. Yeah.
Hey, maybe
kidding,
somebody's reaching out. Maybe somebody's reaching out on a PTO cast and he wants to take you for a round to talk about it.
You know what? I come cheap contract, league minimum. So,
oh my God,
just don't expect me to do well in my fitness testing.
Yeah, that would be tough. You fail that thing.
League minimum is great right about now.
Yeah, league minimum.
League minimum
Oh my
would be
God,
fantastic.
could you imagine making that salary? That would be absolutely insane. All right, we got lots to get to. What we will do, Cass, is we'll make sure before you leave we get to the top 50 because we want to take that run from 20 all the way up to 11. So we'll definitely get to that. Oilers on the ice for camp today, though. Matthias Ekholm, a little bit of a hip flexor thing. Either of you guys ever deal with hip flexor?
All the time. That was so for me. For me, the big issue is always my lower back. Like when something would happen and it would absolutely cripple me, it was my lower back. But it was always my hip flexors, and there's a muscle that kind of runs through there called the psoas. It's one of the longest muscles in the bodies, and those were what gave me the issue. So it's like if my hip flexors went, my lower back was shot, and it hurt in my lower back, but it was because my hip flexors would get tight. And I guess my one hip flexor problem. It was actually I heard it in a fight with Biz Nasty, Paul Bissonnette in Arizona.
He punched you in the hip?
He punched me straight in the hip. And I felt it tweak during the game. I'm like, oh, that's not good. Something's wrong there. And then just got worse and worse. And on the plane, it just was like burning all the way up my abs and ended up ripping my groin and my hip right off. So that wasn't good.
Because of the hip flexor type of thing.
Because the hip. So it was where you're like your ab and your groin, and so you're like where your hip flexors are. Rip those right off, pretty much all the way off. That one needed surgery. It wasn't fun. But I played like 3 or 4 games after that. It was it was in Minnesota. It was after like you have your roster free post trade deadline, and heading towards the end of the season, you have your roster freeze, and so they only have a certain number of call ups left after that point, and they had already used a bunch of them. And so they're like, hey, Cass, like, hey, do you think you can play? I'm like, well, it takes me quite literally, and this is not, I'm not stretching this. It took me like 10 minutes to get out of bed each morning because I couldn't squeeze my abs to sit up. So it's like, it took me 10 minutes of like pushing with my arm to roll off the bed. And it was taking me 2 days of treatment to skate once. So it was like, I wasn't practicing. I was playing the games. I played 3 games and it was like treatment, play the game, treatment, play the game, treatment, play the game. And then they had to shut me down because I couldn't do it. Like I had to hold my breath for a shift, like to step on the ice. I had to go like, and then hold my breath and squeeze my abs because there was nothing there. And I remember it was, I got in a fight too, actually, against at home in Vancouver.
Come on, man.
Or against Vancouver at home in Minnesota. I tried to fight Zach Kassian that game. He wouldn't fight me. And then I think I ended up fighting Guillaume Desbiens was his name in that game. I think that was that one. But with the athletic pubalgia is the proper.
I think we had an episode titled "Athletic Pubalgia."
We talked about it. Yeah,
episode 40 or something. That would have been years ago.
It was a really one.
Yeah, wow. Athletic pubalgia.
Yeah. With all that being said, it doesn't sound like Ekholm's injury is severe. It's more, well, he had a little bit of a tweak. It's early. It's training camp. There's lots of time for him to get into games. So why would you have him go through the motions of the harder early skates where they're really pushing guys with maybe some less bodies on the ice because they're doing split groups, inter squad games. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So give him a few minutes, give him some time, let him recover. To me, I'm just kind of like, that's not a big deal. We know he was skating and he was around town a bunch this summer. So I don't think it's anything to be concerned about. It's just maintenance.
So that's what. So if you just leave it, it gets better.
Well, treat it. I mean, you have to treat it.
Well,
it's like an injury.
But is this something that could drag on, I guess? Like throughout
well,
the year?
If you don't treat it and take the time to deal with it, then absolutely. But as he said, if this was playoffs, he'd be playing.
Yeah.
Like he'd be playing. Gage, I don't know, because hips are different for goalies. I know. So I don't know how you feel about it, but those injuries can linger. They can hang around, which is why it's like, well, why don't you deal with it now so that it's not? Like, get it 100% better. If he only gets 2 exhibition games in, whatever, give him some time, let him recover, let him heal.
Yeah, if any sort of issues like that, it's not really that important for Matthias Ekholm to take part in the preseason, right? Like you said, Cass, maybe 1 or 2 games. He's probably not the workload that he's going to see is probably going to be at minimum at that point. You want Oilers. We've said it before on this podcast. They need to hit the ground running, full on all cylinders. Get him healed up, ready to go. From what he said, saying if it was a regular season game or whatever that he would play, I still see him getting into some preseason action.
Just something along the way, and that's it.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Because to me, and we talked about this a little bit last time. I think this was the last episode, either the last episode or the one before. But what do you guys think this means for Broberg's preseason and his early camp?
Oh yeah, it's great. I think
doesn't it mean like it is whatever he makes it now? Like he's going to have more opportunity now.
Well, you know what? I would if I'm the coaching staff, I'm playing him a lot right now.
Give him 6 preseason games.
And depending on, and I wouldn't. To me, when we were talking about this, I was thinking about it. I couldn't convey it because I don't know, but I think for him to have a preseason kind of like what Dylan Holloway had last year, like a real,
really have you talking, like.
just go, oh my gosh, can you? And not only just for him, but just to get confidence for him and for the coaching staff to know, oh my gosh, like I want to see what this guy can do in the regular season and not maybe be able to distribute the minutes a little bit better throughout the D-men. We don't know what they're going to be. Are they going to go with 7D or not? But I think for Broberg, looking at this, okay, let's establish myself as one of the top players in the preseason on this team. So my coaches have the confidence to put me in at the beginning of the season and start rolling.
Cass, you think this is an 11-7 group again? You're muted, Cass.
It certainly seemed to work last year. Now the challenge is going to be the salary cap, because you're not going to have as much ability to swap and jump from the 11-7 to the 12-6 because you can't keep enough extra guys around right now with where they are sitting with the cap, which is going to be interesting to see exactly how they handle it. So, it seemed to work well. So they're certainly going to try it, but I don't know, guy. I don't think it's a huge question for me, but it certainly will be interesting to see. I'm interested to see as training camp goes on, because early in training camp, they're going to go, 12-6. First couple preseason games, for sure, you're going 12-6. But it wouldn't surprise me if when you get down to like the last 2 and your roster's almost set and all the young guys, most of the young guys are sent down at that point to see if they rotate to it, to see what it looks like in preseason. I'm interested to see if they do that, but that's not going to happen until we're kind of right towards the end of the exhibition season.
If you have any questions, hit us up on the YouTube or comments even. 780-218-9999. That's 780-218-9999. Nielson, Cass, and Gage are here with you on Two Guys and a Goalie on Edmonton Sports Talk. Dr. Gonzo on the YouTube chat says, I'm really hoping Broberg shines. He's clearly talented enough, may not be as physical as maybe he can be. Good opportunity here for sure. Be interested to see if, does that make him... What is holding Broberg back from being a regular every night NHLer? Is it his physicality, I guess, is what I'm asking after Gonzo's question.
That's a confidence thing.
Yeah.
I think with him most, because we've seen how well, and we've mentioned it numerous times, how well he defends with his feet. and gets himself in those good positions. Could he be a little bit tougher to play against? Yes, and we've heard people talk about he needs to gain that strength and just to be able to lean on guys a little bit more like some of his partners can do. So it's definitely another arrow that he needs in his quiver. But there's so many other attributes that he can. He's got the tools. They just need to put them all in that toolbox.
Not every defenseman needs to be, I'm not going to say he's a killer, but not every defenseman needs to be somebody you look at and go, wow, really love his physical game. Right, Cass?
No, well, he doesn't. He's never going to be an absolute killer. We would see that already. Like, he doesn't have the Marcus Niemelainen edge to him. With that being said, if he can take a page out of Ekholm's book, who's a physical defender, but doesn't, it's not like Ekholm is just violent out there, but he plays a hard physical game. If Broberg can start to do that, and I think, Gage, you're right, where there's a confidence aspect to it, where it's like you trust your physical attributes enough to be able to engage physically at times when necessary. And if he can start to do that a little bit more, I think his game does get better. Because as you guys have said, we've talked about it all the time, he skates so incredibly well. Positionally, he has the ability to get where he needs to be. Skill-wise, we've seen him be able to make plays with the puck. And just having a little bit more of that nastiness and everything, I think, takes him to that next level. So if he can learn how to just add a couple of those elements to his game and the timing of those elements, I mean, he could take a big step forward here.
Because when Vinny stepped into the lineup, like, I think it was a little bit more mature. He wasn't afraid to cross-check anyone, right? So I think that comes with a little bit more experience. And look, he's his second kind of year in the NHL. I think that we might see a little bit. Well, hopefully we see a little bit more of that.
Quickly on Desharnais, what'd you think of his hair now?
I haven't seen it.
He was.
I didn't want to see it after I heard he came in with these gorgeous locks.
You see this? Like, Desharnais was bald last year. Now he's got just beautiful, beautiful hair, which Gager as
a follically challenged
individual.
There
we go. Thank you. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it. But where do you come out on guy with great hair being bald guy? Because I view it as like an intimidation factor to be like, I'm a tough guy. And now he's made it. And he's like, oh, and I can also have sick flow.
That's to me, Dusty, that's even more intimidating, to where he can look like a menacing factor and now come back as wanted to be on the cover of the Hockey News. So
you want to see it?
Oh, that does look good,
right?
That prick.
I know.
That's a skill that's gone past me, Dusty. But my ear hair and back hair are something to behold.
My ear hair and back hair are something to behold. I love that. All right, so we do have the first look at lines in training, and I know you go, wow, can't read too much, but this basically looks like the team. It's McDavid, Brown, and Kane, Draisaitl, Hyman, and Nuge. McLeod was not on the ice today, so it looks like Peterson was basically in a spot there to hold for McLeod because he was between Ryan and Fogle, and it was Ryan, Fogle, and McLeod that actually looked pretty good at moments last year in the playoffs. And then it's Sutter who's in on a PTO with Matthias Janmark and Holloway on what we would kind of dub 3B or the fourth line. Cass, just your thoughts on, I mean, nothing too crazy there, but just anything jump off the page or anything even remotely noticeable to you from that group?
No, I mean, it's kind of what you expected. You're going to see Pettersson get a little bit of a look. You're going to see Sutter on a PTO get a little bit of a look, but they're clamping down the lines early on here. As we talked about on our training camp episode, for guys that aren't on one of those lines, they're like, ooh, I better show something here to get an opportunity to be with one of those groups. But not overly surprising. Nothing surprising. I mean, isn't this how we thought it was going to look? And maybe they're playing together a little earlier than I anticipated, but it's not. I mean, it doesn't shock me at all.
Yeah, there's no reason to really mix it up, right? Like, there's no reason in training camp to run Dylan Holloway with Connor McDavid to try to give the kid a boost. Like, that's not where this team is at now.
He didn't last year, and he shot the lights out in camp last year, Dylan Holloway. He deserved everything he got going into the regular season. So, no, I think, look, the Oilers aren't in a position where they're trying to look and try to find chemistry. They know, you know what you have with half these guys. It's a battle for one. Well, I think it's only one spot really to depending what happens. But yeah, no, it's this is a time where I think you not only look at some people, but you also, once we get to a point in this preseason, you start getting guys together and play against good competition and start building chemistry. I'm a firm believer that if you can take that advantage and get guys rolling, and I've mentioned numerous times, just hit the ground running for the Oilers is so important for this year.
So we'll see how things go. Second group on the ice, I believe, either right now or they're just about to wrap up.
Exciting.
So
that's exciting.
The second group?
Yeah, the second group. Yeah. I was always second group. Because the first group would be out, and I'd be like, I was like a hockey dad against the glass.
I was going to say, would you go watch?
Oh, yeah. I go, that guy sucks. Oh, that guy made a save. Crap. But no, you kind of match up to the competition. You're looking up to the stands, to the brass, and see them watching and talking. Oh, they're talking about this guy, that guy. And so, yeah, you're just kind of trying to figure out where you all slot in. I always wondered what it felt like to be one of those established guys that actually used training camp as getting ready for the season instead of trying to make the team.
Yeah,
that would have been a great feeling.
Would you always know, Gage, you're like, when you go into camp, are you pretty familiar with all the other goalies there? Like, or there's some guys you're like, oh, I've never seen this guy before.
Oh, yeah, you knew every guy.
You knew every single guy?
Every guy, where he was drafted, his stats from the previous year.
And you find that out on your own. You're like, this is who I got to go up against.
I would know 2 months before who I was going up against. Yeah. And even guys that most of them, well, the guys around my age, I guess I'd played against or heard about them, but then there might have been some research for maybe some college kids and stuff like that. I mean, I don't think I ever had well, that's not true. Peter Skudra was.
Peter Skudra?
Yeah, I think he was in the minors, though. I don't think he came to main camp, but that was the only unknown that I played with.
He played for, he was.
Vancouver.
Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh.
I'm pretty sure Skudra was Pittsburgh for a bit.
Pittsburgh, Vancouver. I want to say San Jose, but maybe it's just because the pads.
Okay, so I want to get to this Oilers news too here. The Oilers announced today that Michael Parcotti has been named the club's Senior Director of Data and Analytics. He'll be working closely with the team's hockey operations department and will lead the creation and operation of a new analytics department and provide valuable insight-driven recommendations. Parcotti joins the Oilers after most recently working at Suncor Energy in Calgary. He's obviously he's been big in the analytics online community for a long time now. This is why the Oilers fan base obviously knows who he is. This is one of those hires where Jeff Jackson is like helping the team, but also helping himself by hiring somebody that Oilers analytics fans have basically idolized for a long time. So, Cass, this checks a lot of different boxes, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, you guys know how I feel about analytics. It's a tool, and it's a useful tool. I don't think it's your primary driver. I think analytics helps you understand what happened and understand that if what you're seeing, or in some cases, the why behind what you're seeing, it helps you quantify everything. And it's important part of it. Now, you can't get bogged down by it, but to have someone come on board that has some experience doing it, and if you are able to give them the tools and the consistency to use said tools, it can be a valuable thing. So, you know, the numbers nerds are all happy about it. They're ecstatic. They're loving it. And it's a good thing. I mean, you're adding data and information to your organization that helps you make decisions. And I think it's a good thing. So good on them for adding it. I know they had a department and they had stuff they used before, but having someone that's their clearly defined role, that's great. That's helpful. That's beneficial. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's just more information to help make decisions.
Can't wait till Cass runs into him in the press box and has some stern words.
A real good chat.
I would stern words. Like I don't think, like, again, internally on your team, if you have the same person running your analytics with the same evaluation criteria, it helps you understand and unpack. I don't think it's becomes not necessarily a predictor. It's not a predictor of future success, but it helps you understand past successes and failures and quantify them a little bit, which helps. Again, it's helpful information. I don't like using purely analytic decisions because there are too many variables. There's too many variables. Mathematically, there's way too much stuff you can't quantify that goes into individual plays, that goes into individual players, that goes through a game, that if you're only relying on the numbers, it's not helpful. But the step one in actually having it be applicable is having the same person doing it over and over and over again, so that if you're like, okay, well, you were successful in X amount of Y in the first 15 games of the season, and then the second 15 games you weren't, your numbers drop dramatically, and going, okay, well, why is that happening?
Recognizing
or
those areas. Looking at, you'll have to use it in kind of segments, right, Cass? You'd look at Pat and see, okay, it would be helpful to see, those 10 game segments, see where you're going, and then you can kind of track your progress through to make sure kind of the plan stays on track. That's kind of what analytics is built for.
Yeah,
I'm going to be really interested to see. And, I'd love to chat with this guy to see how they're going to measure how much of a success, this new additional expanded department is, because this is already a team that we're expecting to put up like 110, 115 points. Like, we're expecting it to be a really good team already. So, Gager, is the way that we find out or gauge success, measure success on the addition of this analytics head just by looking at the analytics to see if they've improved over last year? Or is this a hire that they look at certain people in the defensive zone in different aspects of the game, and maybe they can bring down that goals against average just because of the way they're trying to put people on the ice in different situations because of the numbers that they bring? I want to know how we know if at the end of the year we go, wow, they finished first because they have analytics department, when I think they're going to finish first anyway. So how do we gauge if this is really helping?
I don't think you're going to get that.
You can't
in the first year. Well, especially it's not because how the Oilers, they're a good team. Like, they have a good baseline to study right now, right? So maybe at that point at the end of the year, they take all the data that they've gathered and go, okay, they can probably look at the deficiencies of what that season was, and then maybe focus. It could really help in draft picks. So, okay, we weren't so good in this area. We need a little bit more, physicality on this side, something like along those lines. But I think analytics, very tough to know the gains that you've made in one season, but because the Oilers are such a good team, and the data that's probably going to be gathered over, I would have to say a few seasons. Then they have this baseline of, okay, we were successful this. What did we have implemented in our structure? And then they can try to build on what made them successful in the first place.
See, I'm going to take it. I think it takes you the first 20 games. And then it can start to help you. And where it can start to help you is let's use Broberg as an example.
Okay.
So let's say you have baseline stats through 20 games of what Ekholm's doing, of his statistically how he's playing, and let's say they're looking at something like first pass success rate under pressure. So you under pressure, when you have someone forechecking you, going back on a retrieval, what is your success of executing that first play? And you have Ekholm's numbers, and then you have Broberg's numbers, and let's say Broberg's numbers are way worse, and then it gives you as a team to say, okay, we know in this area he's not executing. We visually see that he hasn't been executing, or there's been some issues here. We have the numbers to back it up. So this is something in practice or extra time before practice or after practice that we can coach him through using video to say, okay, this part of your game needs improvement. Let's work on some things that are going to help you improve this part of your game. And then over the next 20 games, you have, based on that first 20 game baseline, you have, okay, well, where was there improvement? Was there improvement? Why was there? Why wasn't there? So I think, it does take a little bit of time. I'd say with a team in Edmonton's position, it's not like you're entering a rebuild here. So it's not like it's all of a sudden going to make you, 8, 10, 12, 15 points better during the regular season. But again, I think it helps with your development. It helps with knowing your strengths and weaknesses. And as Gager said, moving forward, it helps you with drafting. It helps with a bunch of different things. But to me, it's like after that first 20 games, you kind of get a baseline for where everybody's at, what they're doing, what they're not doing, which you kind of already have for most guys anyways, but it just helps quantify it.
I like this.
I can't believe we're having an analytics.
I know in the YouTube chat, TubeSuck says, "I test Cass." It's like,
I'm not like everyone. Do people say that and they're just like,
well, yeah, because Brent's in there too and says, "Sounds like Cass isn't too high on analytics." And
no, I'm not. Well, I'm not.
You're not super high on it. Yeah.
I'm not super high on it in that it's your primary driver, and then everyone's like, "Oh, you're just the eye test," and it's like, well, no, I'm not that either, because sometimes what you're seeing, you have to understand why you're seeing what you're seeing, and you need to have information to help you understand why you're seeing what you're seeing. But what analytics can't tell you is when you received a pass on your backhand in Dallas with bad ice and the puck was bouncing because of the humidity in the rink and there was an ice buildup because you were 12 minutes into the period. Like you can't, there's too many variables to say that it's a perfect predictor of the future. Now, again, to understand what happened in the past, well, yeah, but I mean, the part of the analytics that drives me nuts is people are like, oh, with the Corsi and this team's Corsi and the puck possession, and this is what makes it. So, they're going to, and you're like, well, yeah, good teams are going to have better puck possession. No kidding. You really surprised me there. Like good teams get more shots. Really? Good teams give up less shots and high danger chances against. Shocking. You completely blew my mind there. Like, so there's components to it. Again, the people that rely only on analytics where I'm like, okay, but it doesn't help you understand why, because if you have two defensemen, one's got really bad numbers with one partner. I mean, again, you have information there and then you have to watch to see, okay, well, what's happening? Well, why is it happening? And the analytics just helps you understand and helps you unpack, but it's not this be all end all perfect predictor. And it's not nearly as important as it is in a sport like baseball. That's a static sport that starts from a set position every single time. So it's just, I don't mind analytics. I just don't like when people are like only analytics and only this, and they're like, oh, you can't do that. Guy has numbers for this or this. And I said, and so he's horrible. And I'm like, well, let's watch the tape. And then let's look at those analytics and say why some of that stuff happened before we make our decisions.
Cass is good in the sheets, the Excel spreadsheets.
I was going to say, like Cass, what do you think of analytics? By the way, this episode will be called Cassalytics. Hey, I think it's got to be. Yeah. Eric, this episode's called Cassalytics. He's gonna put it up on the podcast feed a little bit later on. Okay, so this is interesting. Hontorio Momes in the YouTube chat says the Oilers would have won a cup by now if when Holland came in and made this hire then. It's sheer luck to build a bottom six without analytics and cheap contracts, i.e. every Stanley Cup winner in the past 10 years. So, Cass, they're saying on the YouTube chat that if Ken Holland hires Percotti or somebody else, when he gets hired, they've already won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, that's why Tampa won, and that's why Colorado won. Yeah, the analytics department, not because they had really good players.
God, I love it.
Listen, I think if he would have, if Chiarelli would have had some of that, it could have helped him make some decisions.
Yeah,
but that doesn't stop you from having a Koskinen contract.
I think I like it. Well, it might have helped you if you had if you would have a better read on it. Maybe you wouldn't have given Koskinen that contract.
Maybe you would, yeah, and maybe for some of the guys,
I mean, there couldn't have been any numbers that told you to do it.
Maybe you wouldn't have done like the Eberle trade, and maybe you wouldn't have traded Strome, like some of this stuff where you kind of were head scratchers. Yeah, maybe it stops you from some of that, but
I like having I think a bigger, larger department like this for player. Like going out and finding guys, like looking at numbers of other guys a little bit deeper than just looking at their goals.
But everybody's numbers are different. Every numbers are different. And it's like, and that's where it's okay from a department standpoint, like the number of games you're going to have to claw through to be able to do that. Like, and that's where it is helpful having a department, because you want guys to be able to do that. So they can watch tape of another team, of another player you're interested in. They can watch 8 games, pull just the shifts of that guy, and go through and run your own numbers on it and see where someone's at. Like that to me makes sense to help with your evaluation. Like again, it's good to sit and to say, I think it's a stretch to sit and to say that they would have won a cup if Chiarelli would have done that early.
He said when Holland came in, which I guess would technically be 4 years ago, not 6 years ago.
Oh, I guess Holland, yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but that, I don't know. That
I still think they would have had goaltending issues, even with like amazing numbers everywhere else. So,
if memory serves correctly, I think Koskinen had a real tough time with it. Was it his glove?
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Hernan. Remember Hernan? Hernan's in the live chat, says, bring it, Cass. So it's good. Well, the entire community is an analytics city now. Cass, we're not going to have time to get into the top 50 because you got a jet, but Gage and I can take a whip through. Well, maybe we save that.
Save it.
Let's save it. I want you there for that. So we'll save those before we let you go, because Gage and I will dive into it. And if you have any questions, hit us up in the YouTube chat or at 780-218-9999. Biggest threat, because we're going to take a look at the Pacific Division here after we let you go. Biggest threat to the Oilers in the Pacific Division. Is it the defending Stanley Cup champions, or is it those pesky Los Angeles Kings, or somebody else that surprises?
That's a tough one. I go back and forth between those two, and those two are the teams to me. First brush glance, I think it's still Vegas. I think it's still, if Vegas stays healthy, I think it's still Vegas. But LA's right there too, not far behind, not by much. Though both those teams are still the two biggest threats. But I'm gonna lean on Vegas a little bit. When you look at their roster, you look at some of their depth, still a really good team. The big thing for them is going to be staying healthy.
I started a poll in the YouTube chat. So if you're watching on YouTube right now, make sure you vote. And it's 50-50 early. I'm going to sit here and call the entire results. Perfect. Kings now at 60%. This is amazing. Cass, you go have a fun day with your agents at Northern Bear and let us know how it goes, and we'll continue with our top 50 next week.
Sounds good. It's probably the last round of the year, so we'll see how it goes. But if I break 100, I'm good. So
there you go. That's Matt Kassian. Talk to you later, Cass. Kassian about to get a PTO with the Calgary Flames, I'm thinking. Right?
Oh yeah.
Get it out there now.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. Oh wow, look at this. Kevin Kassian. Now, is this a brother of Cass? Kevin Kassian says the Oilers would have won a cup if there wouldn't have been a flat cap for nearly the entirety of McDavid and Draisaitl's contracts, which is a pretty good point. Like because of the pandemic, it's if the cap would have continued to go up the way it was going up. Yeah, maybe they would have. Maybe they would have had an extra piece to get by the Golden Knights or something like that.
Yeah, you could have added something that would probably put them over the top at that point, and guarded against the injuries that the Oilers have run into the past few years too, right? So, yeah, well, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Hindsight's always 20/20. I don't know.
Early in this vote on the YouTube channel, but 52% of people are saying the Knights. 48% have voted for the Los Angeles Kings. So pretty tight depending on who you talk to, Gager. Which side do you lean on in this one?
Oh, it's the Kings for sure.
It is, hey?
Yeah,
is it because the Knights have won theirs?
Yeah.
That's kind of why I lean Kings too.
It's a notch on the belt for sure, but I think just the sour taste that the Kings have had at the hands of the Oilers. I mean, last year I thought that was their biggest hill to climb, was to get over the Kings roster, and I don't know. I think it's the Kings, Dusty, and we'll have to see, but what they can put down the middle, and that's a good point, buddy. That's a really tough big three to go up against for each line. You got to say, if Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl weren't so good, it's a great matchup, but with what they can do with Danault, Kopitar, and now Dubois, that's tough going up against in a playoff series.
Kopitar, now once again, these aren't Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. But with the way they play and in the playoffs, and they're going up against McDavid and Draisaitl, Kopitar, Dubois, Fiala, Danault, Kempe's great.
Kempe's unreal.
Arvidsson. And then they did move a couple pieces, obviously, to get Dubois. They moved a couple of guys that I like. Like Velarde was pretty good in that series against Edmonton,
they moved a lot. Like and that's we could have a whole episode on who won that trade, right? Like that's a lot. I'm really looking for it's.
I thought Winnipeg did really well in that deal, considering the position they were in, and they had to do something with Dubois. I mean, to turn it into Velarde plus, I think you have to be pretty happy.
And I've been listening to Huss, and he's.
Have you been listening to Huss?
Oh yeah, I love listening to Huss, and he's on board with the Jet. Like he loves what they've done. Yeah. So it's who knows? Maybe the Jets have finally figured it out.
Well, they brought in pretty good players, and I think they needed a shakeup. Right, we talked about it when they named Lowry the captain too, right?
Yep.
They want people who want to be there, and I think that could end up making a big difference. Little E on the Edmonton Sports Talk text line at 780-218-9999. That's 780-218-9999 says, I'm guessing Cass didn't have good analytics. All the numbers that we need to know about Cass would have been fights per 60.
All I know is he wouldn't say that to Cass's face.
That's a really good point,
That's the
actually.
only analytic you need to know.
Yeah, I think so. All right, let's see here. The YouTube chat's really getting going here right now. Let's see. UChat says, I feel like LA has gotten worse with their trades. No, the defense definitely didn't get better. Michael says, that's a great point, Nathan. I completely forgot about them trading away the entirety of almost one of their effective lines for PLD. Gus says the Kings got worse this offseason by trading for PLD. It's Vegas easy. Says they also got rid of Korpisalo. Their goalies are Talbot, Phoenix Copley, and Riddick's there. Is big Riddick there too?
The Flipper. They call him Flipper.
I didn't even know he was there.
He listens to Dolphins mating.
Yeah, for sure that guy would. Eh? Yeah, I don't know. Doughty, Gavrikov, Anderson. Brant Clark's a really good defenseman, but he's 20. We'll see what he ends up being for them. I know he's like a second or third in odds for the Calder. I know they did trade away some depth, but that's still a pretty good group. Like I thought the Kings were a really deep team last year in the playoffs, right? So maybe you can afford to sacrifice that bit. With that being said, I'm not too sure they had to go out and get Pierre-Luc Dubois.
No,
right? Like
it's a way. Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you like? To me, if you're the Kings, and maybe this is what they based this on, Gage, but this was like, certain teams, whether it's hockey, NBA, whatever, you look and go, oh man, we're one player. And actually, if we're going to win a cup, we're going to probably have to go through the Oilers at some point, basically every year. So to me, they assessed their team. They looked at their team and looked at Kopitar and looked at Danault and still said, you know what? The guy who's the missing piece for us to get by the Oilers is Pierre-Luc Dubois. And to get him, they sacrificed a couple of guys who could become or already were kind of important players for them. It was a pretty fascinating decision, I thought.
Yeah, because I guess are they looking at it as, okay, Kopitar can go up against Draisaitl. Danault's done pretty good against McDavid. Like, and
then you're trying to give yourself the advantage.
And then you're looking at the third, fourth, if you had your choice between McLeod and Dubois, who are you picking? Right? Like, you'd think that he kind of dominates that matchup. Who knows? We'll see, but
they did give up a lot for him, though.
They did give up tons for him.
Velarde, Iafallo, Kupari, and a second-round pick in 2024.
That's a lot, dude.
He had 27 goals, 36 assists, 63 points in 73 games. Velarde scored more goals per game than Dubois did. He had 23 in 63 games.
He's a sniper.
I think, I like Velarde.
Yeah.
And I like Iafallo. I think the Kings will miss both of those guys. So I don't know. Have we talked ourselves into the Golden Knights being this is why I like the Oilers to come out of the division and possibly win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. And I mean, you gotta hope that their health holds up too for the Kings, right? So
Golden Knights at 51, Kings at 49% right now. Red light Riddick. The goaltending is worse. The D is lighter, and the forwards are getting older, barring a breakup from a couple of guys. PLD is not equal to the parts that they dealt away. So did the Kings make themselves weaker? I mean, that's one of the storylines in the Pacific Division. So much talk about Kings, Knights, Oilers, especially here in Edmonton. What about Seattle? Seattle, they've got some younger guys that you would expect to contribute. Matty Beniers for sure. I don't know what's going to happen with Shane Wright, but that was a team that they scored a bunch last year with a bunch of guys that you wouldn't expect to come together to score a bunch last year. Is there a letdown here for Seattle this year, or can they continue to build on what they've started to build?
They're a really good team, right? I think they caught a few teams by surprise, but man, I think they're a dark horse this year, Dusty. They're going to be really, really good. It's going to be a tough out every night with this Seattle team.
I'm just adding it up here. They had 13 different guys score at least 13 goals.
Oh shoot! Hold on.
Last season for them.
1 sec.
Gager's leaving. I was going to look up. I think Gager just had to take a phone call. Anyway, they had 13 guys with 13 goals last year. The Oilers had the big boys, 1, 2, 3, 4. Nurse had 12. Barry had 10. Kane had 16. Fogle had 13. And Ryan had 13. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The Oilers had 7 guys with 13 goals last year. Who am I, Parkati? Look at these numbers. Bring it up on 2 guys at a goalie. The Oilers had 7 guys with 13 goals last year, a bunch with 10. Guys that might not be around anymore, like Yamamoto and Costin and stuff like that. But they were a deep team that surprised a bunch of people last year. If I had to look at Seattle right now, I would think doing what they did last year from a point production standpoint would probably be their high end. Like, can Seattle maintain what they've done, or are they actually capable of doing more? That's what you have to kind of wonder when it comes to a team like, is Jared McCann going to do what he's done for them? Does Kyler Yamamoto actually help them a little bit? Gage, are you okay?
Yeah, no, I had to go to the bathroom. Really quick.
Oh, too good. I appreciate it. We're just talking about Seattle. I said, I think Seattle, their peak, their upside this year would be what they did last year. Like, if things go well, they could be what they are last year. I just don't see Seattle being better than they were last year.
They're annoying, I think, is the best way to describe them. They're going to be a good team. I mean, now with Yamamoto, I do like their goaltending. Beniers coming off rookie of the year. They remind me of a Carolina Light kind of, because when you watch them play, it's hard to distinguish line to line to line. They all bought in. They all play the same way. And we saw that they had a lot of success last year. And I mean, I believe they were the first team that beat the Boston Bruins at home last year. They went in there and won won like 3-1 or something like that, and everyone was shocked. And that, I think they had a road, like they won like 12 in a row on the road, and it was like I just equated it to no one taking them seriously, but it translated. They started feeling better about themselves. I mean, I hate watching the Kraken to a point because of watching Adam Larson play, and he's just so good, right? He's such a good player. God, he would look good in an Oilers uniform, but
the missing piece.
Yeah, they're a good team, and if you're not careful, they will beat you if you don't bring your A game.
This text from Sheldon in a white garbage truck to 780-218-9999. If you're driving around and listening to the show, do not feel shy to text in. We appreciate those. That's why we got the text line set up with that awesome 9999 number, 780-218-9999. The Oilers are the biggest threat to the Oilers this season.
Oh, I like that.
That's a deep one, right? But I mean, with what we expect from this team, as easy as it is to say that, or as like cheesy as it is to say that, it's probably close to the truth, right?
Yeah, and I've thought long and hard about this, Dusty, and there's a few points that I think the Oilers have to watch out for. And it's weird to say, but you can't get caught up in the greatness of Connor and Leon, and especially the power play. And to me, it's weird to say that they can't rely on the power play as much as they did, I think, when the playoffs started. It was dynamic but I think they relied on it a little bit too much, that it was such a tool to get them out of trouble a lot of times during the regular season, that almost to a point when they got a power play in the playoffs, and if they didn't score, it was detrimental to the team because it was so automatic for so long. So they have to find a way, and I get caught up in it too. Seeing what Connor and Leon can do and all the points they're putting up. I actually even thought that, man, they don't need defense because these guys are scoring.
They're just going to buck the trend.
But we hadn't seen something like this in decades, and Connor McDavid was making the league look ridiculous. How are you going to stop this guy? But we did see it. We saw in playoffs that defense, you need structural defense to defend against teams in the playoffs. You can't always just outscore your mistakes. So that's what Coach Woodcroft, I think his biggest challenge this year is getting the Oilers to a point where they become a boa constrictor at some point, and they can just shut everything down, and any little mistake that the other team does is they're putting the puck in the net.
So we talked about the Golden Knights, the Oilers, the Kings, and the Kraken. Now, you will see teams pretty much in every division every year. A team that was in the bottom four moves up into the top four, and goes along those lines. So Calgary, Vancouver, San Jose, and Anaheim. Which one of those teams becomes a factor in this playoff discussion in the Pacific?
Got it. Well, I don't think it's San Jose. I do look at some of the pieces Vancouver's done, and my infatuation with Demko, but I just don't see the Flames having the season that they had last year translate to this year. I think they're going to be a much better team.
Straight up coaching change.
Huberdeau had an off year. I don't think he's going to get over 100 points, but he's going to be more definitely have a better season. The goaltending will be better. And I mean, look, I think it was 14 games that they lost in a shootout, right? So they win a few of those, they make the playoffs. It's just, I really think the coach's message was a little bit too much for them. They just had enough. Now that with everything new, fresh start, I would have to put them at the top.
I was trying to figure out, and Calgary's a very interesting one because, first of all, a bunch of their guys are in contract years. So, you should expect the most out of Backlund and Lindholm and pretty much their entire blue line. These guys are all going to be UFAs at the end of the year, so they'll be looking to earn a big ticket. I'm trying to think of last year for Calgary. First of all, Markstrom, not good. But was last year no more Gaudreau, no more Tkachuk, or no more Gaudreau, no more Tkachuk, and Sutter with the new guys just not gelling well? Will a fresh voice there get the most out of these guys? And if they do, I do think Calgary could get themselves into the playoff conversation.
Well, as a player, you're thinking if you've had a poor season, you're looking to next year to redeem yourself. And like you said, these guys are going into contract years, so you want to really outperform past success and show maybe not the Flames, but other teams what you're capable of. So maybe these guys want to go out with a bang. It'll be trade deadline for Calgary this year is probably going to be the most interesting to me because they're going to have guys that maybe have mentioned they want to test the waters and things like that. And
if they suck, if they underachieve this year,
oh my gosh,
they could really move some assets at the deadline.
Yeah, huge assets.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I look at the one guy that I love, that Lindholm, just a great player. great player for Calgary. You could get a lot for him. They could almost, with the assets that they have, and it could be just a full-blown rebuilding summer, but hitting the ground running.
Turn it around
really fast.
You're going to have, whether they keep these guys or don't, they're going to have some cap space. So if you turn these guys into assets, then use the cap space to actually sign guys to keep a competitive team. Some flexibility there to maybe turn things around, but you're right. Lindholm, Backlund, these are guys that playoff teams would kill for come deadline time. So we'll see how that one goes. Let's wrap up this episode with a couple of messages in the YouTube chat. Huberdeau is so overrated. That one in from Brent, and Kevin says, hope to see you guys at the Elks game on Friday. Let's fill the place. And Kevin, you certainly will. I will be up in the booth with suits calling this game. Gager, concession 7 or 8? Do we know yet?
We don't know that yet, Dusty. We're still trying to figure out where the best place for my wiener's going to be. I'm leaning towards 7. I will put it out. Might even sign a couple outside wrappers. So come by.
Wow, that'd be a pretty big deal.
Just something for the.
I want you to sign a wiener, like an actual hot dog signed by Gager. I think that'd be great.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I got to get there early because it's
really early.
I got to get there really early and prepare.
I got to be there early. You'll probably still be there before me. I get there like 2 hours before the game.
Yeah,
you're there before me.
I'm there before.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And our whole crew's going to be there. Actually, you'll see all the Edmonton Sports Talk crew. Myself, Tommy. It's his birthday. Murray's we're going to be in Murray's suite with the ranch there. Murray's got a suite. So Maddie, Eric, his brother Lucas. It's going to be there. We're bringing YouTube Trev to the game. So and Tommy's pretty much invited like everybody else that he's talked to in the last 2 days.
Nice to meet YouTube Trev.
Right?
Yeah. No. He. You know what he reminds me of?
Who?
I figured this out. Remember the Kevin Costner the Perfect Game one? What was that movie called where he's pitcher and he pitches the perfect anyway the.
Oh, I know the name.
Yeah, I know the name too. But he reminds me at the
end, rookie.
No, it's not the rookie, but the rookie in the game where he meets him and he goes, "You played with my dad
for the love of the game."
For love of the game, the rookie that comes in and he goes, and the manager goes, "Break it." And then Costner, he hits a couple big fouls. He goes, "Oh, there's no scaring you, kid. Just ambitious
that's it, yeah.
and ready to go." He's here and he's ready to hit dingers.
I'm pretty sure he's going to own Edmonton Sports Talk about 18 months. Damn. Really let that one slip away, didn't I? All right, that's going to do it for a full day of content here at EdmontonSportsTalk.com every single day from 6 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And now if you go to EdmontonSportsTalk.com and you click on schedule, let me just double check here. We should be able to kind of tell you what's coming up. So today's schedule. This schedule is pretty sweet here, Maddie. I'm not going to lie. Looks good at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. So coming up right after Two Guys and a Goalie, which is on now, it'll be a Nielson show replay. Then we will replay the Lock Shop from 4 to 5 leading into the games tonight. And then the EST Hangout will replay from 5 until 7. So if you're looking for something that we would deem highly entertaining on the way home tonight, you can find that right here at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Gager, we will chat with you on Tuesday, buddy.
Oh, we'll chat on tomorrow night.
Oh, actually tomorrow night. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks for the support, everyone. Tell your friends to subscribe to the YouTube channel, download all the podcasts, and bookmark EdmontonSportsTalk.com so you can listen live every single day in your car. We will talk to you on a Friday morning on the Nielson Show tomorrow at 6 o'clock.
The EST Hangout.
Matawanek, Tom Gazzolo. Yeah. As well as we got Min Darwell from CDC and Doug McLean, Golden Bears Pandas analyst, along with the Stingers. And I think